Hello and welcome once again to the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secret Show, where it's like a game show all the time. And it's like a gong show where you guys bang the gong and try to drag me off stage with an exit stage right with a little cane, like one of them little cartoony things, but I never get out of there. But here we are once again on the Pork Chop Express, just rolling through your neighborhoods. I thought I'd talk on the CB radio, you know. So I woke up very, very early, just like a bolt of lightning at 5 in the morning. And I was having this really weird dream about how there was like a group of people doing tweak. They were smoking tweak. And they are like, but here's the problem with tweak is that if you punch someone within the first minute of them doing it, they die. And I was watching these people like smoke out of a pillow, and then they would be covered in bruises and like purple marks, like they looked like late stage AIDS patients, and then they would like heal after the thing, and it wasn't even like tweak anymore. Then it changed into it was a new thing on the street that people were doing. And it was like the next step up from the in all of the FET. And this vision of people on the streets taking it to the extreme where they're like endangering their lives like to a whole nother level, where like the high was like their immune system's completely evaporating, and then going like full blown like AIDS patient, and then like healing from it within a minute. And that was like where they were getting their high from. So you could, and it was just like all this like people around burning piles of rubbish in like factory warehouse sections on the outskirts, like huddling around like burning embers and fucking smoking this crazy new thing. So that's like the dream I woke up from, which was really weird and creepy. And then I'm like, I need tobacco, and I'm all out. So I wandered my neighborhood all over at like 5 in the morning looking for a snipe. And I kind of found one that was really shitty. And then I wandered back into my apartment thinking strange things are afoot, and thinking a number of things. And then I sat down and I started watching magic videos, a bunch of people on YouTube. And I've been watching stuff all week, kind of catching up on things that people have been putting out. And I don't want to throw out names out there, but, you know, some of the biggest names in black magic, you know. And, you know, if you listen to my channel, you're probably listening to their channels too. And I don't need to explain too much, but everyone out there knows that these guys can just go on and on and on and on about any subject. And as you watch it, their eyes are shifting everywhere. So in that sense, this video is going to be more along those lines of me not really having a very specific thing to talk about. Now, there's some stuff I'd like to talk about, and it's coming to me, but this is going to be a free range rant-a-palooza. And again, it's very, very early, and I don't know where this will take me. But, you know, so here's the first two things that I really wanted to get into, right? So I watched The Irishman by Martin Scorsese for the first time over the past couple days. And it's got a very powerful, like, last 30 minutes to it. Really becomes like a whole different film. And it's like, you know, this like mobster guy is getting grilled by the FBI because they're trying to get information on a crime that happened way long ago. and they have him backed in a corner, and they're like, we need you to talk. We need you to talk. And he's like, well, if you have any questions, you have to contact my lawyer. And they're like, he's dead. Your lawyer's dead. He's been dead for a really, really long time. And just no one informed him because the guy was so old, no one bothered to tell him. And then they're like, everybody you're protecting, all these mobsters that committed this crime, they're all dead. They're all gone. Like, who are you protecting? And he's just like, sorry, I plead the fifth. I can't tell you. He just refused to cooperate because he just like, fuck it. Because that was what in his blood. But the movie is like, the end of that movie is really about how like this dude with like old age takes you to a place that's like a gazillion miles away from what your life was, because everybody's gone and you're the last one left standing around, and it's a whole new world. Now you're just an antique, and you know what I mean. In a lot of ways, I'm feeling that heavily, because this year there's been a number of people that have dropped off that were very influential to me, or people who were part of the story. And another one of these people were part of the Zeero Xiron story because they were another black magic, hold on. Hold on 1 second. Wow. Okay, so I'm terribly sorry about that. It's still recording. So anyway, I was talking about how black magic person on YouTube, another magic person, they're no longer with us as well, and I'm sure you'll know probably who I'm talking about. And it's much. I never wanted to see anyone like that wind up like that. And this was a person that, like, technically on paper we could have been bitter enemies, but we weren't. We were communicating and didn't really have a problem with each other. But the stuff they're preaching is completely the opposite of pretty much what I'm saying. But still, you don't want someone to end up at that bottom barrel. So here I am this morning, and I'm thinking about ghosts of the past, people who passed, some big names, to me at least, people who were like rock stars to me personally, and feeling a little bit like, the end of the Irishman. And, or like that scene, you ever seen Public Enemies with Johnny Depp? And that scene where he just walks into the FBI office and he's like looking at a poster board, and it's like all his old accomplices and everybody's like gone. He's like only one left, and he sees his whole life laid out, like all these people that were once something. That's how I feel a lot of times, kind of like that. But I was feeling like that even when I saw that movie for the first time, but very, very pronounced now. So anyway, moving on to the next topic. I want to talk about black magic stuff. I want to talk about these folks. I want to talk about the trajectory of where all of us magic people are headed. There's an awful lot of people who just kind of keep their heads down and live in their own little isolated reality, and they communicate with who they communicate with, and they are in their insulated world, and nothing is going to change their world. And it doesn't matter how shitty the world gets outside, how bad the economy is, how many homeless people there are, no matter if they kill their health insurance or do what, they're like rocks that are just going to stand there, and they're going to be in their own little bunker. And then there's also like the people who were forced to be out in the open, like Doc Zeero here. Because Doc is one of these people that, like, if you've been listening to the show, I've been homeless off and on through my whole life. I started doing this show during a long homeless stretch. And then I got off the street and return to society with a job and all that stuff. And then, that's where it's continued for the past few years. But I'm finally like in that dead end corner where I can't find a job nowhere. I'm broke, but I got housing, but it's just like all I got is like rental assistance basically, and a food stamp card, which is going to be taken away. So, my existence is different from the rest of you. Many of you, maybe in that aspect. So what can I say about this? Okay, here's where I'm going. What I want to talk about specifically. Now, as I watch all these black magic channels, a lot of time they're pulling it out of their ass as they go, and they're making educated guesses about a lot of stuff. And here's the thing, magic is about the imagination and about mind power, right? Because if you listen to the show, the bottom line I want to promote, if you don't get it, what I'm doing here, it's like I talk about mind power and mind power in harmony with the physical universe and all you can do with yourself once you gain the discipline to, add in the imagination on an attempt to ascend and evolve and, all the ways about doing that. Now, the black magic guys, they are about, their view of ascending and evolving. And they look at that as self-deification, self-mastery. But they have different ideas because a lot of them, they think that they have this, the devotion to the spirits or the communication with the spirits or the demons or angels or daemons, as you want to say, which is just any supernatural being, the deities, gods, goddesses, all this. And a lot of people, these things are very, very real to them. And, people become obsessed with evolution through their communication with this whole thing, this whole realm. But, in the end, as I've seen over and over and over, the black magic roller coaster and ride. Now, okay, so let's stop it short of a certain point. Now, there's those who, true black magic is about the dark arts, and I think a lot of stuff here. Okay, so let's back it up. Let's back it up. Now, Zeero here. A lot of what I'm saying. Or things that I'm promoting, someone who was a Christian or a Catholic or, Muslim or Jewish or something might look at me as a person who practices black magic but I don't look at the things that I'm doing as black magic, but they would look at what I'm doing as black magic. So it's really about personal preference and personal vision. But at a certain point, you need to isolate it, and what is true black magic. When people get to it, when the general superstitious fear of it, right? People are afraid of it, right? It's because the true black magic is hitched to fear. Now it's hitched to all emotions, but when people are thinking about it, out there, the general public, it's like this fearful thing. And therefore it is the machinery of fear, the techniques of fear. Fear magic. And I've talked a lot about this. Part of fear magic is this whole shit, this is baneful magic. curses, hexes, trying to throw psychic energy at someone in order to destroy them, to harm them, to fuck with their lives in any way possible. And then there's like tons and tons of people out there who are just like, no one truly has that ability. It's just completely invented. But, you know, this show stops at a certain point because I don't want to get lumped into super crankiness. But it's the concept of, can you harness your psychic energy and actually make it leave your energetic sphere and travel into the world towards a target? That's the main question. And it takes extreme discipline to make that happen. If so, it's the kind of shit that would be reserved for extreme martial arts masters with extreme mental discipline. But they're taught in a physical sense. They aren't always taught these techniques. If you study the ninja, you're going to learn more about that. They're deeper lessons that don't get brought up in the text to the public. But if you had a serious discussion with Meisaki Hatsumi about such a thing, spooky Hatsumi, you know, you should look him up. Hatsumi. So the ninja will have an idea or two about this, but the black magic practitioner. And then there's also these people who are, if they're able to lock into that thing and make psychic energy move forward outside of themselves, you find the people who are strangely autistic or more quote unquote simple, more childish in that sense, that like childish in the sense that not that they're underdeveloped, but that, you know, the machinery that they entrap your mind with and force you to convince yourself you are old and do this and this and cut off all and put up all kinds of blinders and all kinds of walls and fit yourself in a box and like all this sort of stuff, you know. That doesn't really set in so well. So it's like a very special character who can really access magic that way. So I guess the point that I'm getting at now, where I'm starting to get, is that all the black magic stuff, now if you're on that side, now maybe you're on the other side of the coin where you're conversing with entities. Now, there's one thing to be a magician. See, the magician doesn't really look at necessarily the gods and goddesses, all this stuff. Maybe they aren't like real tangible beings. Maybe they are symbols. And, you know, it's giving your mind a way to meditate on a very pinpointed bit of its existence. And then there's other people that are like, yeah, I'm literally in communion with, you know, demons and daemons. So let's say, like, as I'm seeing the people saying left-hand path, you know, infernal divine worshiping, infernal divine communicating people, and I could throw out a lot of names, okay? This sort of stuff, these demonolatry, right? Now I'm sorry if I'm not explaining this completely perfect, but my understanding, the way that I see it is, demonolatry is basically like a devotional religion, where you're basically like worshiping all kinds of demons. That's basically it. Like they are your pantheon, and it can go anywhere. Or maybe you just work with all of them. Because demonology is just truly, it's like the study of demons and knowing that shit really well. You know, that you're a demonologist, like you're a librarian egghead of infernal flame. So let's say that any demonolotrixes or whatever, people who are devotional to like, you know, Lucifer, Azazel, whoever, Belial, all this stuff. You know, the way that I've seen it, on a long enough timeline, it all goes wrong. On a long enough timeline, when you get to that point, like I was saying, like the Irishman, where you're that far disconnected from your past and far disconnected from everyone, and you're just left with echoes and yourself and everything you've created. I don't know what, like, a lot of people aren't thinking they're going to make it out of their 30s, out of their 20s, out of their 40s, out of their 50s, out of their 60s. But what if you actually, black magic guy listening to this, what if you actually make it to like your 80s, 90s? Imagine being 100. Are you still going to be the jolly black magic practitioner that you're promoting? Because, like, where's it leading? You know, the thing is, like, I've watched people, the thing with, okay, magical prowess, taking control of magic, and especially the black magic crowd, it teaches you how to weather shit. It teaches you how to withstand all kinds of stuff. You look at the obstacles and problems that you're thrown at you as it's all like the Olympics to some people. Some people, their minds fucking break. They can't fucking handle it. You know? But, you know, watching, you know, the things you put in the world come back to boomerang on you. And there's that one guy who wrote that one book, you know, and then that crazy guy killed these two women in the name of some bullshit that this guy put out. And he was just, you know, he didn't mean for that to happen. It just kind of happened. But that's what I'm talking about, blowback. It was like the ultimate test for the guy. And they didn't break his mind. They just made him wobbly and awkward and kind of confused for a while of how to proceed and piece himself back together a little bit. Like Humpty Dumpty kind of fell off the wall, but he quickly put it back to fucking together and then came back on and said, nothing's going to stop me. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. And that's pretty amazing. So from that standpoint, like, cheers to the fucking ability to weather something that hardcore when, like, goddamn media just gangs up on you internationally and tries to paint you as just the most awful human being, and then everybody cancels you and everyone turns on you, and every little bit of venom of every fucking enemy you ever made all comes at you at the same fucking time. And then you crawl out from it like nothing. You get back up, dust it off, because you say, I am this thing. There's no hocus pocus. Because see, at that point with that guy, this is what I'm talking about, where people go long and hard on the black magic stuff. They have a jolly great time. They're on top of the world. But when the tower card gets pulled and everything explodes and then they fall to the ground, they go fucking crazy. They fold. Their mind breaks. They unalive themselves. So that's the thing, is that one of the most spectacular things about watching the black magic mafia that's big these days and are all up on YouTube and social media and witch talk and all this, they aren't going anywhere anytime soon. They seem like lifers. But as I'm keep meaning to get to, what I found is that when people get into their final days or their last moments, you know, you really question if you made the right call on a great number of things. And more often than not, these super hardcore black magic guys crumble, and they think in the end they're like, what was I thinking this whole time? I should have done this or this or this and been away from this shit. So I don't know if that kind of shit would ever pop in their fucking head, to be honest. All I can say is that, Dr. Zeero here in this whole now, continuing, what I wanted to talk about is, okay, so people talk about the dangers of magic or the problems that you face, what have you. And there's a lot of talk, and, rightfully so, about how when you get so deep into magic, it becomes a central point of your life, and you start living this stuff 24/7, 365. And you become fanatical, even if not outwardly showing it to the outside world. But the fact that you undergo this change, understand that you're in something that is fundamentally obscure. And it's not just people's understanding of magic is so base for the most part. They aren't going to know what you're talking about. They're not going to be able to, they have not had these experiences, nor have they bothered to think about them, nor do they necessarily take them serious. And if they take them serious, they're usually superstitious and scared of stuff because they're heavily religious. So the thing with magic is that it sets you apart and ultimately gives you an extremely lonely, cut off existence. And the thing is, like, magic makes you understand your own humanity in ways that never encountering it well. And it's like, people will say, oh, that person's like an alienated loner. But when you come into terms with magic and, the full, potential of the human being, it makes you more human. It actually humanizes you to new levels. And it's like you understand your fellow man more than ever. It's just that they don't understand themselves. If you're talking about like the angry, alienated loner, that means that, you have no connection to them whatsoever. Now, you can also equally prefer to be isolated from them in general and also understanding them profoundly. So, that's all personal choice, and it's all in the mind. But point is, what I'm saying is that whether you are into kind of stuff that Zeero pushes, or, it doesn't matter what spectrum you're on. When you get deep into magic, you're going to go off on your own path. And the only answer is to find other people, like-minded individuals who have also had a lot of the same experiences. But like we said, there's all kinds of divisions. It's just, once you get into magic, it's a game that we're all playing with each other, It's like a huge game of chess or poker, Magic the Gathering with everybody else, like literally, And some people are just inherently on one side or the other. It's just, it's an upgrade that completely shakes the foundations of everything you are. But when you finally do come to a point and you recognize how alone you are, some people, their fucking minds just shatter because they immediately want to pull back or retreat, and there's no way to retreat. So the thing is, like, you have to embrace, like, loneliness or deal with that concept. Loneliness doesn't bother me the way it used to. I was once a very romantic individual, and it was very important for me to experience it all with some kind of partner in crime, I never quite found someone who could ever do what I necessarily do or think exactly how I think, and anything that all the long-term relationships I had previous to turning to, like, magic world so fanatically and this whole way of thinking. There's like what I was before and what I was after.
But even in the before time when I could much more easily shoot the shit with people, my quote unquote peers or people around my age, I was already like far away from them to begin with. So, you know, I never quite had a romantic relationship with someone who was equally like on my level and we were like truly like a team. A lot of them just kind of like, they seemed right on paper. They kind of happened. I sort of went through with it, but I knew it wasn't really it. Like that it thing always eluded me and it used to drive me insane. But nowadays, I absolutely don't care. I am the it thing. And that's not to say you become a megalomaniac, egomaniac, however you want to call it. It just once you're okay with yourself, it doesn't matter. It's like staying in the center of the like Aikido, like the principles of Aikido, staying in line with that which is harmonious. So it's the same thing with all these black magic folks. But you know, the dating pool is very, very small. And the problem, well, I wouldn't even say a problem. It's a good thing. But magic makes you so individualistic that tough luck it ever completely hooking together with anyone in a truly coherent sense. This is why people who are obsessed with love and relationships, maybe this high magic isn't the way for you. Because it's going to take you a long time to find yourself. And every time you find yourself and upgrade, folks from the past. So the thing I keep reaching for in my mind and I keep thinking about is, the Tower card. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Sudden destructive force. Everything can fall to ruin. And, not to say I'm cursing anyone or trying to do anything underhanded. But I see the black magic mafia there, this tightly knit group of interrelated people who are all like boistering each other, and they're the ones that they turn to in the loneliness that I've been describing. And it's like a support network of people who are also practitioners. That's the importance of the occult practitioners. It's also, like I said, a support network. It works like some sort of support group kind of thing. And I'm just wondering if there will ever be the lightning strike to bust up the tower. And if anything, what would it be to break up this group? Because, again, not throwing curses out there, I look at these guys and I see a Martin Scorsese movie. You know, it's like they're their own like wise guys in their own little underworld, and they're all having a wonderful time on their way up. But us zeros are too, because I'm just a zero, and it's all the ones that have been reduced to zero and been born again as something else. And I know there's all kinds of people out there who agree with me. And there's all kinds of people who hear what I'm saying, you know. And even though we aren't connected in the same way, we are a formidable force. I'd take, 200 champs over a million chumps any day. But they're all out there. So, I guess this will be the video for now. It's just a general amount of things I wanted to say there. Like I said, it's just free-for-all talking. Do hope you got something out of this. Or some light bulb clicked in your head, what have you. So Doc here's going to go back on the offensive of trying to find employment and getting over the hump of
people unaliving themselves and becoming severely injured, and everybody I know is kind of screwed, you know. Myself, like I'm happy with myself. You know, I'm well aware of myself. I am a insular rock in my own way, but I'm not in the bunker. I'm on the outside, and I do try to communicate with people. So, anyway, this is just another communication from Dr. Zeero.